The future that I would choose for myself if I knew I couldn't fail, it would probably be teaching.
Well, I want to be a kindergarten teacher.
I want to be an algebra teacher.
Teach our school about Black history.
If these teenagers were living in 1868, only one of them would land a teaching position. Over the past 150 years, African American teachers have had a difficult and successful status in Arkansas, from becoming educated freed ex-slaves to achieving civil rights. After the Civil War, many ex-slaves of Arkansas were given an opportunity to become educated. Most received their primary and secondary education through the Christian churches. Those who were ready to attend secondary education had access to attend college. Methodists, Baptists, Episcopal, and Quakers all set up colleges during the late 1800s. The first female African American teacher in Arkansas became a national historic role model. According to the Arkansas Historical Quarterly, in 1869, a year after Little Rock set up its public school system, a 15-year-old African American girl was asked to finish out the term for a white teacher who became ill. Charlotte Andrews Stevens, an ex-slave, became one of the most prominent school teachers in Arkansas. She taught 30 years as an elementary teacher, 30 years as a high school teacher, and 10 years as a teaching librarian in high school and junior college. A former student, Dr. William Pickens, was quoted as saying, "She probably influenced more children and young people for good than any other teacher in the South in the last 3/4 of a century." Stevens started teaching students from all grade levels in a one-room schoolhouse. The Arkansas History for Young People notes that about 45% of Black children went to school, compared with 54% of whites. Fewer than 2% of Black youth were able to get as far as high school. The schools became segregated and the state supplied more funds to the white schools. In 1948, Life magazine wrote about the white residents in Clinton County who allocated funds to build a new school but rejected replacing the burned-out Black school. Charlene Trotter, a teacher from Lawrence County, remembers receiving hand-me-down supplies from the white schools.
And we were using those old dilapidated books, torn, what have you. And they were changing books over there at the whites every 5 years. And it would be 10 maybe before they'd pass those 5-year ones around. I had a problem with it because I read a lot. And of course, we were not permitted, we didn't know, that's why we were behind. And I don't think we were gonna ever catch up.
Along with the lack of supplies, African American teachers received lower pay than their white counterparts. It wasn't until 1942 when Sue Cohen Williams, a teacher from Dunbar High School, became the plaintiff in a class action lawsuit seeking equal salaries between white and Black teachers. In 1941, white teachers in Arkansas earned $625 a year, compared to $367 for Blacks. The suit, Morris v. Williams, was filed on February 28, 1942, and the trial lasted 1 week. She lost but won an appeal a year later. A repercussion of the original case is that she lost her teaching job. However, several years later, the principal of Dunbar High School hired her back, apparently at equal pay. In 1954, in the lawsuit Brown v. Board of Education, the U.S. Supreme Court outlawed segregation in the public schools. In Arkansas, this federal law created more friction between the races. The admittance of 9 Black students into Central High School demonstrated the massive resistance to social change. For African American teachers, an unintended consequence of implementing desegregation meant losing their jobs. Several school districts closed down the all-Black schools, possibly because of financial or racial reasons. According to a 2004 USA Today article, in 1954, about 82,000 Black teachers were responsible for teaching Black children. 11 years after the law, more than 38,000 Black teachers lost their jobs in the southern states. In Arkansas, from 1958 to 1968, no Black educators were hired in desegregated districts. The National Education Association data from that period verified that 85% of minority teachers had college degrees, compared with only 75% of white teachers. Charlene Trotter was the first African-American teacher to be integrated at McLean High School in Hoxie. This transfer to a mostly white school was difficult for her.
But anyway, they gave me the worst seniors that they had. And out of my 5 classes, I think there were only 2 of them that I had at least one black student. They were all, so now that's the first time that I really and truly felt that I was in the minority, because they were all white. And maybe in one of those classes, a black would come in. There were only 213 black students out of 1,300 students.
African American Studies teacher Cynthia Nunley grew up in England, Arkansas. She remembers post-desegregation and the disappearance of black teachers.
I went to an all-black school through the 7th grade. In my first year, after I went through the all-black school, then I started going to the school that was integrated, and of course I never had black teachers again.
Miss Nunley teaches African American Studies at Central High School. She initiates discussions with her students about the events that once occurred at their school.
Sometimes I'm in awe of the history of this building. And sometimes I tell my students, you know, what point did we get to where you don't feel that there's a lot that you can get if you applied yourself a little bit more? At what point how come you're not awed by being here? You know, and the kids say, oh, it's not like it used to be. Well, how is it not? You know, how is it not like it used to be? And so, well, you know, the kids will say, oh, well, you're a prejudice. And all you old people are prejudiced. And I'll say, well, you know, I'm thinking about what you said, and there's probably some truth to it. I'm conscious of it. There's probably some truth to it because you told me I was. But what can we do about it? You know, and so I'm trying to engage them in dialogue about it.
As an African American Studies teacher, Miss Nunley wants to be a positive role model for diversity.
Teaching African American history, I think it's made me aware of things. It's because it's what I focus on a lot. But being at Central, there are some times when my fellow teachers and we talk, and we know that we should be a model for diversity.
Professor James Jennings, chairman of education and African history teacher at Hendrix College, believes there's a missing element for today's African American teachers.
Black teachers no longer really necessarily regard themselves as, I guess, the guardians of black children to make sure they succeed. Integration kind of changed that pattern when we integrated our teaching force, and I'm a proponent of desegregated schools. It's just that I think that what has happened is that now some of the needs of the black community have been overlooked because you don't have individuals who reside in the black community who are sensitive to those needs to make sure those needs are addressed.
Assistant Principal Monica Norwood responded to Professor Jennings' comment.
Well, really, again, the controversial answer, I think we have to make sure that we have the proper people in place. I think anytime you have people who are called, this is a calling, this isn't just a job you go and apply for. The teaching profession is a calling. And if you have people who are passionate about the job, you know, of the quest, I'll call it the quest of teaching and learning, then you have those people who want to work together. They want to problem solve. They want to share information.
Miss Norwood's teaching calling was recognized by being one of the 87 recipients of the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. She was one of 4 African Americans and the only one from Arkansas. When asked if President Obama is a good role model for students,
when the day is done, you know, I think it's good that you see someone else that looks like you accomplishing something, because it helps to give you a vision and a hope and let you know that it's doable. But I think when it's all said and done, it's what you have inside of you It's the character and the integrity and the work ethic that you have inside of you that's going to make the biggest difference.
African American teachers, both past and present, have made a progressive difference to the educational system in Arkansas. Every generation has and will inspire many students to carry on the African American pedagogical lineage.